Alright guys, today we have more PlayStation news and rumors to go over and talk about. There's a lot to go over in this video today, so before we get into it, if you could do me a favor and hit the like button to help it out and show it your support, I'd really appreciate that. And hit the subscribe button as well if you're new to the channel. But we're starting here with a new rumor surrounding Metal Gear Solid. According to this rumor, Metal Gear Solid is currently in the process of being licensed out by Konami. Now, this is not the first time we've heard this, so that's why I find it so interesting, because this is the second time this year we're hearing that Konami is apparently willing to license out the Metal Gear Solid IP. We've talked previously about rumors that claim that Blue Point Games is currently working on a full-blown Metal Gear Solid 1 remake that will be a PS5 exclusive. We haven't heard anything about that, so we have no idea whether or not that's true. I mean, it would make a lot of sense and it would be very exciting, but we just don't know if there's any truth to it. But we are hearing more about Konami's willingness, apparently, to license out the IP to other publishers. So it says here, it's been a while since a new entry in the Metal Gear Solid series saw the light of day, but it seems like there's a chance for new games to be released in the future. ACG Gaming recently reported that according to a reliable source, the Metal Gear Solid IP is up for grabs in some way. It's not yet clear if this is related to the Hideo Kojima / Microsoft rumors from last week, but it would definitely be huge if Microsoft somehow got the legendary game designer to work on a new entry in the series he created. So just to touch on this for a moment, ACG did clarify that this is not what he was getting at, that him talking about Konami and their willingness to license out the Metal Gear Solid IP has nothing to do with the rumors that we heard about Kojima potentially going to Microsoft with his next game. He clarified this in a tweet saying, no, it was more about Metal Gear being shopped / looked at. This is what he said when he was being asked to clarify if there was any connection between the two. So I think that's important to highlight, because at times like this, the snowball effect is in full motion, obviously, and people are going to run with anything and everything and make all kinds of assumptions. But this is exactly what he said, and he was clarifying his source, the individual that he heard this from. He said, the person who told me this has been with me since the Far Cry Primal leaks, and mostly has been right, from Bethesda moving to zero-day review codes, and this year to Deathloop, Bloodlines, Dragon's Dogma 2 leak, Xbox Game Boost work, and a couple more this year. I was simply stating I had heard from a source, the same source that informed me of the Xbox Boost, Deathloop delay, Bloodlines, and other stuff I'd talked about, as saying this is happening and that Metal Gear itself was in some way up for grabs, which then popped up in this discussion about Kojima. You guys should know I'm not a huge Kojima follower as a person, and I don't work on personal leaks really ever, as I find it a bit creepy. And he says the source has been reliable all this year, so I said it. And I think that this is worth pointing out, because ACG, you know, he is a really cool dude, and he does not come off to me as the type of person at all that would attempt to make something up in an attempt to get some type of attention. Absolutely not. And he's just letting us know that this individual he's been talking to, this is somebody who's been very reliable in the past, and he's been in contact with for many years now. So he believes it, and he thought it was worth sharing. And so because of that, I do believe this, especially because this is the second time we're hearing about this year. So if it's true that Konami is willing to license out the Metal Gear Solid IP and it's up for grabs, I mean, some people are going to assume that by it being up for grabs, that means they're going to sell it. That is highly unlikely, in my opinion. Who would the IP go to? Who would Konami license this out to? Well, in my opinion, I think Sony is the best option. I think if Microsoft was interested, that's always a possibility, just due to the sheer amount of money that Microsoft could throw at Konami. But I think Sony's the best option due to their pedigree with single-player story-driven games. I think it would make the most sense to see something done with the Metal Gear Solid IP with Blue Point Games, like a full-blown remake or a remaster collection of some sort. The idea of a Metal Gear Solid 6 without Kojima, I'm not entirely opposed to that idea. I know that some people are absolutely against it, but I would be willing to see what another studio, a very high quality studio, very high caliber studio that's known for single player story driven games. I would be very interested to see what they could do with a full-blown new Metal Gear Solid game. I'm not entirely opposed to that. But I think that considering how, synonymous the Metal Gear Solid IP is with PlayStation, that would be very interesting. Now, is it possible that Microsoft could somehow sign a publishing deal with Kojima Productions and it happens to be Metal Gear Solid 6 because Microsoft also secured the Metal Gear Solid IP? I mean, anything's possible. I think that is extremely unlikely. And I also think that Kojima is pretty much done with Metal Gear Solid. So yeah, I don't think that that's something that's going to happen, but I do believe that we will see Metal Gear Solid return in some form. I think it would be great if Bluepoint was in fact working on a full-blown remake of one of the main entry titles and it ended up being a PS5 exclusive. I think that that'd be very cool. So let me know down in the comments below what you think about these rumors. Anyway, moving on from that, we have some positive news about Sony Bend, and for those wondering, I am going to be making a dedicated Days Gone video talking about it because there's certainly more I want to say about it, and I know that a lot of you are still kind of processing everything that's went down recently with all the news and information, but there is a silver lining here that I attempted to highlight in my last video, but we have some more information to go off of here. So Sony Bend reportedly started work on its new open world IP in September of 2019. According to the LinkedIn profile for Sony Bend senior game writer Tom Dibble, the studio started development on its new open world IP all the way back in September of 2019. Dibble's profile reveals that he's currently working with a writing partner, Laura Williams, and they created mythology, world rules, characters, and a complete story for a AAA open world title. So this is news that, in my opinion, is kind of going under the radar. Obviously, things could have changed since then, but considering one of the things we heard in this new report that everybody wholeheartedly believes, seemingly, it was stated that the last thing we heard, or that Jason Schreier heard about Sony Bend, is that they are working on a new IP. So there's a good chance that they've been working on this new IP for quite some time. One last thing I do want to highlight when it comes to Sony Bend is another interesting piece of information about their next game. This comes from the director of studio production at Bend Studio, and they are still working at the studio. And on this profile of theirs, it says, "As we tackle our biggest project yet, I'm so very fortunate and thankful to have a world-class production team by my side on this adventure." So if you're wondering what it is that Sony Bend is working on, in my opinion, all you have to do is look at this to come to the conclusion that they're working on a AAA new IP. I know that that maybe isn't what everybody wants, that there are plenty of people who would have preferred a Days Gone 2, but I think we do have to understand that this studio still has so much potential. They're going to take everything that they did with Days Gone and apply that and build off that and do even better with whatever this next game is. And considering how good Days Gone was for a new IP, I have the utmost faith in Bend Studio that they're going to deliver something just as good, if not better. I know that some of the individuals responsible for Days Gone are no longer with the studio, but still, I have a lot of confidence in what they're going to do next. But we're going to close out this video by talking briefly about Resident Evil Village. It's a big game that's coming to PlayStation 5 soon, as well as PS4. But it says here that Resident Evil Village will be using a performance and graphics mode for players to optimize their experience. Capcom's upcoming survival horror title, Resident Evil Village, will support performance and graphics modes, according to a new interview with the director of the game with official PlayStation Magazine UK. While not mentioning them by name, they confirm that players will be able to optimize their experience with the game, which is exactly what performance and graphics modes do. They've become quite popular in recent years with, especially with the PS5 and the Series X out. We're seeing that more and more developers are putting these options in their games. Now, this is all he says. He says there are settings which will allow each player to optimize their experience according to their preference. So, I mean, he's not explicitly saying there's a performance and graphics mode, but that's exactly what that means. What's also interesting is he talked about the 3D audio tech inside of the PS5. And I do find this interesting because this is something that has just in the PS5. And he says, for a game like Resident Evil Village, where exploration is a key pillar of the gameplay, I would say the 3D audio is the most impressive PS5 tech feature. You can already experience a taste of this in the maiden demo, the footsteps of the castle's residents as they go up the stairs, or the sounds of something moving in a dark cellar. The effectiveness of the 3D audio in creating a convincing audio space has exceeded my expectations. In horror, creating this sense of presence beyond the visual scene on screen is essential. So I think that 3D audio will be indispensable in horror games from now on. So some really high praise here from the director of Resident Evil Village, specifically about PS5's 3D audio. And I do think this is worth taking note of, because I have seen some people kind of look at PlayStation's 3D audio as just like a gimmicky feature, but it's not. As he says here, it exceeded his expectations. And I've noticed this as well in some games that take advantage of it, that there's definitely another, maybe you could say more nuanced layer to the audio. And because it's more nuanced, maybe not everybody can detect it or pick up on it as well, but it's definitely there. And I did play the Resident Evil maiden demo, and yeah, they're making some really good use of it. So I just wanted to take a moment to talk about this, because it will be exciting to see how more developers continue to utilize this. And I'm excited for Resident Evil Village, so definitely going to be playing that with my headphones on for sure. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it or found it informative. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.